I'm the man, yes, sir, to kill the bear barehanded so the people won't forget it. Getting money for our legal to drink. I care what a broke nigga think.
Just like the pack of Lewiz.
Look, everything I do so cold. I can do this, both eyes closed. Too short, I stay on my toes. About that guap boy, anything goes. Help the bear if we outside. Help the bear if we outside. Still tipping, baby, nothing changed. I'm still grinding over here, yeah. Still sliding through my own lane. Shorty, nothing funny over here. Dollars rain everywhere around me. Dream to get money. Made it through the storm, living sunny. Dreams came true, now we eating. I got more dreams to chase, gotta reach them. Trying to put a team together like the Hunger Games. Everybody grinding because we all came from hunger pain.
Who that? Late Ill Kid at OneYoungsta holding it down, bringing that StreetGeek and NERDSoul. What is up, my people? Today, all year, come on with another wonderful episode of That's Right. You best believe it. On screen, we talk about Kenobi. That old man out in the desert, minding his business, just trying to protect the little kid. You know what I'm saying? But we're not by ourselves. Right? Well, first, say hey. Okay. Okay. Then right over here, we are joined by.
Can I talk?
Yeah, you can talk. What do you want to say? What's up?
And the two of us.
Yeah, I know we can talk. Yeah, what do you want to talk about?
Kenobi is like, made a fuck shit.
Anyway, right over here, Jay Sherer, Story Geeks. What's up?
Hey, it's good to be here, man. Always good to talk to you about Star Wars.
Yes, and as you know, if you're in here early in the chat, if you're on the replay, shouts out to you. Thank you coming through. Please, 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 if you can, hit that like button, subscribe, all that jazz, share, all that. All right, we got to get going. All right, because I want to start off with first I'll say, hey, there was technical difficulties. We couldn't get to everything, so we're doing everything pretty much 3 to 5, but everything up until now because we about to get the finale soon. I'm gonna ask Jay this first. Jay, I want to ask you, how do you feel about Kenobi now that we've gotten most of the show?
Well, here's the thing. It's hard. It's really difficult.
Okay.
To get an amazing story when we already know the outcome for most of the people involved in that story, right? Because is there any tension? There's some tension, like some of the maybe secondary characters, a few of the primary characters, like there's some danger to them, but we already know what's going to happen to most of these characters. So given that, I would say it's a very good show. I'm not going to say this is my favorite Star Wars. It's not as good as Mandalorian for me. But it's not bad. There's some things about it that I think challenge some ideas about what canon is, and there's some ideas about it that get into
it challenged that.
Yeah, challenge a few things. But in general, I would say that it's very good. It's well done, it's entertaining, but it's not my personal favorite. Okay. What about you?
On my side, this show has been a mixed bag for me because I'm glad we got it. We have Kenobi. But see, in my mind, and I know we have to divorce what's going on in our minds, but because I always wanted a Kenobi show, basically Kenobi on the run until he ends up finally hiding out on Tatooine. But while he was on the run, nothing but hacking, slashing, knock down, drag out fights, balls to the wall action. You know, they're right on his tail. There's blasters but I'm an action fan, and I know this doesn't always work for that. So what we got was Kenobi kind of rescuing Leia, and I was thinking, hey, they're probably gonna, tidy up this story and then go to something else. No, this whole story is him saving Leia. And
right.
I would, due to the sensibilities that I have, and I know people like Star Wars is for the kids. There are no children out there clicking on Obi-Wan. Let's be honest. We know who this is for. So if we're gonna do a Save the Chow storyline, I would really like to get a Star Wars Kenobi version of Man on Fire. That would have been awesome. But I know this is Disney. But you can do things where you like cut away and like it's like there's so many cool things. Like you see Vader doing stuff, and you're like, oh, and then but yes, Darth Vader. So
Vader is like Darth Vader is on a cockroach.
yeah. See, that's yeah. Anyway. He don't know.
Little Mike needs a mic. That's what I think. We should just mic him up.
A lightsaber.
Yeah.
In the book on both sides, but
yes.
Reading like.
Because he has a little Boba Fett book. So.
Oh, that's awesome. I wish I had a Boba Fett book.
So that's kind of where I'm at. It's a mixed bag. It's well done, but I don't know if I love it, and I really want to love it, but there's just, I don't know, there's stuff that's missing. And I mean, we got stuff that we'll get into, like you know, the Rebels and Darth Vader, his kind of positioning, even seeing Anakin. There's so much like cool stuff. Yeah. But I don't know if it's pulling together for me.
Yeah, it's had a really tough time pulling. I mean, let's just face it, right? You're gonna have Obi-Wan already on Tatooine, right? So we know he's already been there.
Yeah.
For 10 years, maybe. I mean, he's been there for a while. Yeah. And now the story is gonna be that he has to rescue Leia. Well, guess what? We know he does. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no mystery to that. There's a lot less tension. Even when Leia was going to be interrogated by Reva, it's like, I mean, she's going to come out of it pretty much unscathed. I mean, what are we talking about? There's not a lot of
she doesn't have like a scar or anything in the original trilogy, so we know. But maybe there would be some tension around maybe the things that he has to do to get her back by compromising, you know. Right. But you know, hey, look, that ship is sailed.
Yeah. Well, that's where your Man on Fire would come in, right? Like that would be the story. He'd be like, he has to, in order for him to get Leia back, he's got to do some things that a Jedi would not be comfortable doing. But of course, he's not in that place. He's not even in that headspace. So it's just it's an interesting way to take. If you would have told me we were getting an Obi-Wan story, and then you would have told me that Anakin was in it, I'd have been, okay, cool, but I'm not sure how that works, but okay, cool, I'll go along with it. But then when you're like, and also Leia's in it, and you're like, whoa, they just giving us everybody. Okay. Yeah. You're like, okay.
You're like, isn't she like a kid? But all right.
Yeah. So I would have preferred to have a separate Obi-Wan series and a separate Leia series if we were going to go that direction. But you know my opinion, I'd rather just break out of the Skywalker saga altogether.
Yes, and I've been talking about that, but we'll get to that. We'll talk about it a little bit at the end. How do you feel about Obi-Wan's? I guess his characterization. How do you feel about Obi-Wan's characterization? Because I'll say this, for me, he comes across, especially when it's time to get back in it. I mean, I know he's rusty, but boy, did he look weak and soft against Vader. Man, he just looked weak and soft. And I know he's rusty. I know. But I mean, if we were to take this to real life, I mean, look at people like I remember Jordan had been retired, and some young guy that was on the Bulls said something like, "I'll beat Jordan, whatever, 1-on-1." And Jordan was like, "All right, let's play." Jordan crushed him. But, so you just in your mind, you're like, man, I really hope Obi-Wan kept his skills. And he's just not good in general.
Yeah.
Yes.
Chapter out of your dual strength, but that's Obi-Wan's like,
yes, I get.
How old?
How old is Kenobi? 38.
It's as good a guess as any. I'm not sure.
Yeah. But how about you, as far as his characterization?
So I don't. Okay, so here's the thing. I really enjoy stories like Unforgiven. Like I dig Unforgiven. Right, that's a cool movie. I dig Old Man Logan. Right, like you put Logan Wolverine as an old man. I like the older character who is like removed from society. He's had his life. He's lived his life. Maybe he's depressed. Maybe he's anxious. Maybe he's whatever. I like those characters. But to your point, usually those characters are fighting this internal struggle. They're usually not Jedi. They're usually like, and so the problem is that Obi-Wan is fighting this battle with fear that is preventing him from being as extreme or as skilled as we would like him to be. And I'm okay with that. But he is gaining it back over time. And I do think that they set it up so that it was hinted at a place at, when his whole life crumbles down around him. That's enough to get him to that spot 10 years later. I'm fine with that. But I do think it would be a little bit more interesting if he's struggling a lot with fear, but it'd be more interesting if he was struggling a lot with anger. And so he was still super powered, but it was more of a I'm resentful of what happened to the Jedi and who did all of this, as opposed to I'm just completely at a loss and depressed for what happened to the Jedi. Yeah, which is a different take, and I think either take is probably fine. But I totally hear you that it would have been much more interesting. Like he shows up and he has a red lightsaber instead. Like why? Like whoa, what's he doing?
Even when he's using the blue lightsaber, maybe Darth Vader calls out and picks out things like, like you're fighting with anger, you're fighting differently, you're fighting blah blah blah. Like are you a Jedi anymore? Something like that. Yeah. Because we're going. Okay. All right. Disney. Lucasfilm, there's no way that every Jedi that you show has to be depressed after, or we see that he references Quinlan Voss, that he's working with the rebels and stuff. So let's see Quinlan Voss. Let's see someone who hasn't been like, oh, well, we lost, so I guess never going to do anything again. Just give up and, just sulk in the corner. If someone asks me for help, even though I have super magical skills, I'll just be like, no, I can't do anything. I'd rather see a Jedi that maybe has the internal struggle that you're talking about, or anything besides just being depressed. Because loss doesn't make everyone depressed.
True.
Sometimes loss makes people try harder, try something different, maybe switch careers or whatever. I mean, I guess he couldn't really switch careers, but like something different. Yeah. Yes. Maybe. All right, go ahead.
Well, I think he could have switched careers, though. We could have seen a Kenobi that was like a smuggler, right? Like we could have seen a Kenobi that was totally different. I mean, and again, I don't
meats.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's just working in a really disturbing meat processing plant.
I was like, so y'all just got sand floating all around the meat? Like,
I know.
Y'all are wearing gloves? Like, what kind of Tatooine?
Yeah.
Y'all just where's the safety standards?
Get your meat from somewhere else, dude. That's not where you want to get it from. But I do think that so let's just say you were going to take him down the depressed path. I think we needed the scene in episode 5 of him dueling Anakin way earlier on. It needed to be in like episode 2. Like show us remind us what he used to be so that there's the promise of him getting back to that at some point in time and building back to that. And then that way we could have seen Kenobi. We could have realized like, yeah, that's the guy. That's the guy of who he used to be. And now he's going to try to get back to that guy. But it's coming pretty late in the show at this point. And so it's kind of like, I don't know, man. Like I would have liked to seen that in episode 2. I think it would have solved a lot of problems.
Yeah, because that fight scene is very well positioned against what Darth Vader is going through at the time. And that's something that I like, where Darth Vader is still learning lessons from Kenobi, paralleling that fight and what he's trying to do now. It's like you're so focused on winning, you're so focused on the shiny ball that you don't realize that there's other factors around you. And through that fight, he was like, "You're beaten, you're done, you've lost. Just give it up." And Kenobi's like, well, you were looking at this hand, he didn't look at this one. Yeah. And just like now, Darth Vader comes in and he's so busy being like, "We've won. Ha ha. It's the might of the Empire." And Kenobi's like, no, I still got a couple tricks. And totally. It's kind of like his arrogance is what kind of got him messed up. Yeah. His arrogance is kind of what got him caught. But in that lesson, or I guess at the end of that lesson, we still found out that Vader is not playing games. Man, the scene where he holds back the ship and he does it so effortlessly. Yeah. He just walks in, he's like, no, y'all ain't going nowhere. And then they try to juice it up a little bit, and he's like, and then when he pulls it down, slams it down, rips the doors open, like he's like for real mad now. Yes. Like, and because I guess by this point he's like, okay, I'm done. All right. Yeah. I'm done. We've played the cat and mouse. You've lost. Stop it. And when he rips the thing open and another ship takes off, I still don't understand how they got past the ship that's in orbit, but let's not ask them questions. They got away. They got away because they got away. Yeah. But I do like that lesson is still to be learned because he hasn't really grown beyond that point. Like, oh, I'm a great fighter. I'm the greatest fighter. It's like, yeah, but there's more to a fight than this. And he still hasn't learned. So that, like, those are some things that I really enjoy about this show. Yeah.
Yeah, that metaphor, the metaphor or the analogy or whatever you want to call it for the fight that they're having in the prequel era versus the present day and how those two things match up. That was really well done. Like the interplay between them and how it applies to the modern day and how it applies to the modern day is interesting too, because Vader thinks that he did learn that lesson because he knows that Reva has been trying to kill him the whole time. So he thinks like, oh yeah, I know this lesson. I've got this lesson. But what he doesn't realize is that he still doesn't have that lesson because Kenobi's still more intelligent than he is in that regard, right? He's going to still use some things to his advantage. I do think it sets up, that scene is awesome. I love the scene. And just like how I never used to associate the games and the movies together, this makes it more difficult because when a character is that powered and can just pull, I mean, we've seen it in some of the movies, right? Because Kylo Ren did it, I believe, to one of the ships.
Yeah, either Kylo Ren or Rey did it. No, I think Rey, did Rey do it? Yeah, Rey was trying to hold back the ship and then she ended up blowing it up.
Yeah. There you go.
But Chewie was still alive, which
that's what it was. That was what. Yeah, she was trying to prevent them from taking Chewie. You're right. So we've seen that.
Let's just let that go.
Let it slide. But what that does is it adds a new problem. And I don't like to think this way. I like to just suspend my disbelief and just go with it. But it also is this thing of like, well, we know that the Emperor is super powered. Why isn't the Emperor just clashing ships together like they do in the novels. Like, you know what I mean? Like it just starts to get into a place where it's like, I love the visual, but then it makes me question, like, so he brings down one ship and the other one starts to take off. Why doesn't he just grab that one? Like, or why doesn't he, you know, like there's all these things that are like, why? I don't understand anymore.
Guess, and they kind of show it a little bit through Rey, but maybe you can't see it because we see a mask instead of a face.
Yeah.
Maybe the way they're trying to explain it away is that it takes so much energy that this is something that you can do like once a week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can't do, like if you try to do, but they don't really explicitly say that. That's still left up to us to kind of try and figure out.
Right. Because then he does stop Reva 2 seconds later. So it's like, come on. Like, you know, it's one of those things where I try not to let my suspension of disbelief get in the way, because I just go, hey, it's Star Wars. It's not like there's sounds in space. I'm not like sitting here as Bill Nye trying to say it's like all accurate, you know? But I still think that there's some things that it was meant to be a cool moment, but it calls into question other moments throughout the entire saga of films. And it's just going to do that. If you go there, it's going to cause that.
Even a line of, you know, something like from Vader, like, it's smart attacking me after I had to pull down that ship. You know, like, and then it's like, oh, okay, so it took a lot out of him.
Yeah.
You know, but he still has enough juice to handle you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Then they'll be like, oh, okay. Because, I mean, that, you know what? Let's just go in and do it. Let's talk Reva.
Okay.
Okay. I don't mean to be mean, Mr. Kenobi. But I honestly think the story of a youngling that was allegedly killed or supposedly dead and left for dead, that somehow survives and works her way up to try to assassinate Anakin because she knows Anakin is Darth Vader, it's a much better story than we got.
Oh, yeah. Way better.
And I kind of want, like, I was like, hold on, I want to see that story. I want to see the story of her realizing she's alive or kind of pulling herself together in the ruins of the temple, dead kids everywhere, dead Jedi everywhere, collecting a lightsaber or two of some sort, figuring out what to do, realizing the Empire, figuring out a way to like become Inquisitor and blah, 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 and like working her way up the ladder to those kind of things.
Yeah.
Like, I actually want to see that story.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
I know it doesn't work well with Obi-Wan there, but I think that's a more compelling story.
Oh, I totally agree. I would watch that all day. Not only that, but it does her a disservice to put her in the Obi-Wan series, because now they talked about doing a spin-off series with her and stuff like that, right? And I'm like, well, I mean, I kind of feel like we know most of what her journey is going to be again.
Yeah,
like, so you can't go back.
Now.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
I mean, to a certain degree.
To a certain degree.
She's not dead, but
right. But to me, it's kind of like, look, your story, the story you just talked about, is awesome. I'm super down for that. I'm in. And think of how cool that could have been. Like you said, she picks up a couple lightsabers and then she figures out like, well, I need to get trained, but I don't know who to get trained by. She finds a gray Jedi of some sort who's like just behind the scenes kind of doing stuff. She's like, okay, I'm going to train with this guy. And then she builds herself up. Maybe she's even like running a smuggling ring of some kind. Maybe she gets involved with Darth Maul and all that he's got going on, right? Like all of that stuff would be super cool. And then she goes, now I have to transform myself into an Inquisitor because I need to get as close to Vader as possible. Maybe she even tries to kill Vader in other ways and it doesn't work. And she's like, okay, now I gotta...
maybe through proxies and stuff.
Yeah. And she could even have an alternate personality, because as soon as she puts a mask on, we don't know it's her. So she could have an alternate personality that she's running around the galaxy as. There's so much opportunity there. And again, putting her in this story is a disservice to her character. And because they're dealing with so many characters who we already like, they only give her, she becomes, until this last episode, she is a very one-note character. Yeah. I'm always mad. Yeah,
I'm just mad because I'm mad.
Yeah, exactly. And they even did the
Inquisitors are like, hey.
Yeah, calm down. Meditate for a bit or something. But yeah, I think that like I think that, like, first of all, Moses Ingram could perform amazing in a role that we're talking about. Not that she's bad here. I'm not saying she's bad here, but it's all just be mad.
She's
right?
not
It's
really
just
given
mad.
anything to do,
She's
but
not
just
exactly.
be stern.
Exactly. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity. So yeah, I would have loved to have seen the show that you just described. That would have been I would have rather watched that show than a Kenobi show every day of the week.
Yeah, and you could show her through. You can have like same kind of like 5-6 episodes, and show her through different stages of her life. So, you know, episode 1 and 2 is like right after the Order 66, and maybe like a teenage year, and then episode 3 you're jumping ahead, say 5 years, and now she's, you know, maybe like just under 20, maybe 18, 19, and she's getting into smugglers that are anti-empire or something, you know, just trying to figure out ways to like get, you know, around it. That's a way more interesting story than let's save Leia. And I know Leia needs to be saved, but Leia, the only person that's been given something to do in this show is Obi-Wan.
Yes.
Leia, they were just like, hey, be the average Hollywood precocious, you know, child character.
Yeah.
And we'll figure out something important for you to do. Oh, there's a small place someone has to crawl. And it's, oh man, like this, maybe even a side where he hasn't gotten her yet, and they're still kind of interrogating her, and them trying to do the mind thing where they do the, like, kind of like Kylo did to Rey, and like them realizing like this isn't working, like, and she's just a child, but she has no force ability. Like, and even Leia, you know, they try to like make her use force ability, and she has none. Yeah, seemingly. Yeah, but they're like, we can't break her mind, and this, that, and the third. Like, just something. Give her something to do besides be the average precocious child. Where even I screamed at. Well, I didn't scream at the screen, but I said it out loud. I was like, "Would you just shut up so we can go?" Like the episode where she was just arguing back. I was like, "Look, can you just shut up so we can go? Because I'm trying to save you." And
that's right. Yeah. Well, and I want to tack on one more thing to the Reva story, because I love that story. I'm like super excited about that story. How cool would it have been if you talked about her going through her life in every episode? What if every episode of that series was her wanting to kill a different clone general because they all were part of Order 66 and they'd all killed a bunch of her friends? So you could have gone in, we could have seen Tamora Morrison again. We could have seen a bunch of clones, retired clones. Like, I don't know. I think that would have been awesome. So just want to point that out there. Hire that NERDSoul, because we need that kind of content. Yeah, that I just, man, because the way Obi-Wan, and there's cool stuff in this show, but you know what? This show is playing out for me like the prequels, where there's a lot of cool stuff in it. Yeah. Yeah. But as a whole, I'm like, I don't know if I like it. Yeah. And I'm guessing they'll pull it together for the finale. Yeah. But we just don't know. Well, the show, quite honestly, I don't think thus far has had much to say. Right? Like usually Star Wars has something that it's trying to say. Like, so if you go back and you look at the original trilogy, it's trying to say that there's a boy who's trying to find himself, and he finds out that the legacy of his family is pure evil, and there's a redemption that's part of it, right? And he's got to fight back against the thing that he would like to do, which is join his father and become a ruler of the dark side. So there's something to say about that. Like, how do you get past the legacy of your family and even redeem it to some extent at some point in time? Then you go to the prequel trilogy, and it's like, okay, well, let's talk about how could somebody get this deep and dark and evil, and we'll showcase like the little milestones that it takes to get there. It's like Breaking Bad almost, right? So like there's that concept, And even if you don't like the prequels, you can at least see that there's depth in that story to that degree. Although I think that George Lucas kind of hid some of it a lot. And so a lot of times
I've talked to people who have read the novelizations of those movies, and they're like, it leaves out a lot of stuff.
Yes.
So
they go way deeper. Yeah, they go way deeper. And then you even got like Mandalorian. Like, why is Mandalorian so impactful? Because it's a guy who's a loner who was what do they call him again when they're an outsider, but they're picked up by the I can't remember what they're called.
Or like an outcast or
something like that. It was like, oh, you're one of these. Anyways, so he having all of that background now finds a child that he's supposed to take care of and that he's supposed to help integrate. And so I think that like the Kenobi series, it's just a giant chase scene. Now we finally get at the very, very end, we get that Reva is out for revenge. That's a potentially deep story, but you didn't let us in on that until the very second to last episode. So it's been hard to kind of go like, okay, is this about someone recovering from depression? Like maybe it is, but they're not really highlighting that all that much. Sure. Is this something about like how revenge is bad, or like, well, you didn't give us that until like the last episode that we watched. So there's not a whole lot for us to say, you know, even Rogue One. What are we willing to do? Are we even willing to die to prevent evil from winning? Is that the question we should be asking? There's all these deep things about Star Wars that this show is not really delving into. It's kind of just like saying, here's some things that happened. So sometimes that's cool. Sometimes cool things happened. And then sometimes you're like, I don't really care about this particular thing.
It just doesn't, it doesn't really display that part. Now, for the actors and actresses that are in this, I think they come through, but they're basically doing what they're supposed to do. Like the young lady, the one that set off the grenade, she's in another show about a guy that gets out of jail because he was falsely accused. It was on ABC, but I can't remember her name. She was like a lawyer or something like that. But she held it down as someone who was like, hey, I joined the military or the empire. And then I saw some stuff and it changed me. Another great story. Just like I saw a video on YouTube about how the sequel trilogy should have been about Finn, because imagine a stormtrooper who not only escapes his programming, but realizes he's force sensitive, and then leads the rebellion against it. Like, that's a huge change. And how, is he redeemed? How far does it matter that he's leading, and how will people treat him? Like, they might be like, yeah, you led us to victory, but you were part of this battle and this battle that killed tens of thousands. So, how will people treat him? How will he treat himself? How we look? Like, there's tons of stuff there. But it's the Skywalker show. And
exactly.
I get it, but at the same time, I just want new stuff. I want new stuff that's actually new. And this is something new that's a little too familiar, and we're also playing in the same timeline where, like, we need to get out of this timeline because we're consistently rubbing up against stuff continuity wise where it's like
exactly.
I don't think y'all talk to each other.
Exactly.
And you have a story group. There's the thing. They have a group of people that are supposed to make sure that the story stays okay. Because the comics connect, the games connect, the novels connect, the TV shows connect, the movies connect.
Exactly.
Animated series connect, whatever. So you gotta do something here. Even with a show like Bad Batch, which I enjoy, you're gonna have to explain something for Omega, and like the Bad Batch show has to end with them like dead, or like I don't know, like crippled where they can't like, because it's like, okay, you got these super sweet dudes. They're like fighting against the Empire. All right, well, why didn't you help out later?
Right.
And then Omega, who's mad younger, because she's Boba Fett's age. Where's she at? What's she doing? Did she get killed? Like, because if she didn't get killed, that's going to raise questions.
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing with Ahsoka. And I love Ahsoka. She's my favorite Jedi out of all Jedi. And that's interesting because I started hating her. When I first met, when she first came out, I was like, I hate this character. Nobody needs this kid running around talking about, you know, like Sky Guy and stuff. It's stupid. But she's my favorite Jedi.
Yeah.
But bringing her back into Rebels, okay. Then bringing her back into, I'm like, all right, now hold on, because I'm about to start asking questions. And that's the thing. We don't want to have to ask questions. That's the issue. Because once we start asking questions, then we're not really enjoying the show. Exactly. It's more of like, hey, why didn't she tell Luke about his dad?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, why didn't she help out here if she was there?
Yeah. Exactly.
Because at first we were thinking, oh, well, she went off with Sabine to do something important in the time stream world or something, and she was never seen again.
Yeah.
Now we know that's not the case.
Yeah.
And now she's getting her own show. And it's like,
yep.
One of the best things I think was done for something like Star Trek is they took Star Trek Discovery and they went 1,000 years in the future.
Yes.
So then we don't have to worry about continuity no more. We can do what we want. It's 1,000 years in the future.
Yep.
We don't have to worry about a thing.
Yep.
And even with Strange New Worlds, they're kind of free-ish, sort of, because even though before Enterprise, before the original show, at least they can kind of just kick it and just not do anything crazy.
Yeah.
Can I have a tablet now?
Not yet. But all right, next thing I want to bring up is are you excited for the finale at all? Now that it's coming? Or is it just one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, well, you know, it's gonna happen?
Yeah, that's a good question. I hadn't thought of that. Like, so I'll say this. I haven't actually been super excited about every episode of the series, if I'm being honest. Like I have been in the past. I in the past with Mandalorian, I was excited about every single episode, right? Like I can't wait till it comes out. I don't want to be spoiled. I got to see it right away. Even if I was on like a trip or something, I'm on vacation. I'm like, I don't care. I got to watch this. I got to spend time like figuring out how to watch this.
Because I can't go on Twitter after the episode comes out.
Exactly.
Because people will like live tweet it. People like just don't even think about it.
Don't do it. Yeah, because I felt that way about Loki too. Like Mandalorian, Loki, I wanted to see every episode. Like, this is cool. I'm down for this. But yeah, with this one, I feel like, you know, especially when you're like me and you start podcasting about every episode, it's almost like, well, I'm in. I have to watch it. But now I might wait a couple days to watch Kenobi. Except for now, I can't because I got a podcast about it on the very next day or whatever.
We kind of got to do it. So like next week, I'll have to watch it at least before Saturday.
Yeah,
because it'll be like, well, this is a finale, and I'll be like, well, you know, it's done. Now, at the same time, I will say I like this show more than I like season 2 of Picard. But it's not helping. Picard, I was just like, hey, it's done. Thank you. We're done. We're not coming back.
Yeah.
Benito.
Well, so I'll say this. I'm excited about Stranger Things. Right? Like, I can't wait for the end of season 4. Like, that's coming up in a few weeks. I loved every episode of the last one. I was actively trying not to binge it too much. You know what I mean? Like that was a show that I'm like, this is amazing.
Actually, I get to watch it sort of part 1 of season 4 again because my wife hasn't seen the last 2 episodes.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. Well, my wife and I are going back, and we watched season 4 and we went all the way back to season 1 and we're watching all the way through.
Oh, see, I did that before awesome. Season 4 came out.
Oh, that's smart.
That kind of excitement.
Yes.
It's not
there
here.
Yeah.
And I want it to be here.
Yep.
And it's not that this is a bad show.
It's not a bad show. No, it's not.
It's just that it's kind of okay.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
It's not, and trust me, don't get me wrong. I know there's going to be the crowd that comes in here and says, hey, look, at least we got something. You should be excited. And
yeah,
I see that. Don't get me wrong. I was born in 82. So I can't look, there were the dark days. Right? There were dark days.
That's right.
But,
yeah.
So it's not that I'm hating on this and calling for Disney to be shut down or signing some petition to give it back to George Lucas, who probably don't even want it. Like, you know, like,
yeah,
like
care.
I'm not doing any of that. But I'm just
right.
saying that I was really excited, and now I'm just kind of like, okay, all right, you know.
Exactly.
All right. It's not bad, it's not good, it's just
okay, so bad. on this show, while we've been talking for the last almost hour now, you've already come up with 2 shows that I would rather watch than this show. So the Reva show sounded amazing. Tala was the best, in my opinion. Tala, that's the Indira Varma character. She's the one you were talking about from the
the show. Yeah. What was the name of that show?
I don't know that show because I saw her in Game of Thrones. She was in Game of Thrones as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so I saw her from that. First of all, phenomenal performance, and that character had guilt and shame and was trying to do something about it, and she was active about it. It's almost like Kenobi is like just reluctantly going along with everything that's happening, right? Like he's not even actively trying to avoid it.
So,
yeah, I know. So I think that like the fact that you could bring up 2 shows in this amount of time that we were both excited about just showcases how much like this was a show that was, on paper was a money-making show because it was like characters that you love, you're going to show up for it. But it's not actually a fantastic story. You shoved characters that you know we love into a just okay story. And you can't make up for it at that point, right? Like they've got to have both working together.
Yeah. And I found the name of the show. The show is called For Life. Because the guy got convicted for life, something that he didn't do. He kind of like learns to get himself out. She's sort of like his I believe she's his lawyer at first, and then she becomes kind of his partner. As far as like once he gets out, like helping other people get out of jail and fight against a system that kind of like just railroads people into jail and stuff. But it was awesome. It was like and it was a mini series that had an opening and closing. Like it was 2 seasons, I think, and it's based on a true story. So that's, I mean, it's sad, but it's not surprising. Like there's a documentary on Netflix about a guy named, I believe, Sean Hill. This guy in Boston gets railroaded as a teen. Finally, through Innocence Project, the documentary gets long, and you think that like this documentary is long. Why are we watching this? Every episode, you're like, can Boston PD be any more corrupt? Like, and then the next episode happens, and you're like, oh, okay. Well, can Boston PD be any more corrupt? And then the next episode is like, and the DA, and the chief, and the mayor, and it's like,
that's crazy.
What? It's
actually, did you see the Michael B. Jordan, Jamie Foxx movie that was kind of similar?
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh, dude, you got to watch that. And watch that, and then go watch the 60-minute special that they did about that case. Because it's crazy.
Oh, so it's a real
some
case.
Of the characters, it's a real case, and some of the people in the show or the movie, some of the people that appear in the movie when they interview him on 60 Minutes, they're even worse than they were in the movie. It's crazy.
That's the thing about the documentary. There's cops that like, it's like, okay, well, it's proven now. We have like proof that you guys would like steal from people that you arrested and blah 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 and this and the third. And the retired cop be like,
oh, that's crazy.
He got his pension. He got his pension. He never went to jail for anything. So he's just sitting in the chair like, and I'm like,
that's crazy.
I'm not surprised. It's
nuts.
Sad, but I'm not surprised. All these retired Boston PD cops is like, yeah, we was corrupt. Well, yeah, this guy was corrupt.
That's crazy.
You know, this guy was corrupt, or that guy was corrupt. So, like, that's pretty much it.
That's wild. That's wild.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Each episode is like, so it's like the corruption just knows no bounds. Like, so
that's crazy.
But I think I'll give you that. You have the Reva storyline. You even have mixing the Obi-Wan thing to something like Man on Fire, where maybe he has to do things that he would never do as a Jedi, where maybe he has to, you know, kind of maybe bring out some dark side kind of tendencies, and he does some people really, you know, there's limbs flying and all kinds of stuff. And, you know, maybe by the time, you know, he gets Leia back, he's like, well, you know, yeah, I got her back and I'm so glad I saved her. Was it worth it? You know, like looking at, you know, like what I did, can I come back from what I've done? And maybe that's what makes him become a hermit. And just, there's no way that I'm better than the people that, well, no, actually there is a way that I'm better than the people that Disney has hired. Since we know how Hollywood works, it's like, you know, who's your buddy, who's your friend, who's your uncle, who's your dad. So actually, I might be better than some people. Like, let's just keep it real. I actually might be better than some people writing these stories at Disney because we know how Hollywood works. Like, hey, well, okay, so let's college, so come on in. Like, that stuff happens.
That stuff totally happens. But like, let's just take it this way, right? Like, so the movie Logan, which I think is a very good film, that I did a video back in the day about how Logan is not as much of a hero as they're trying to make him out to be in the movie, but from an interesting character standpoint, it's a fantastic film, right? And what makes that film so interesting and intriguing, because it's the same thing. He's trying to save a little girl, right? He's like, it's the same thing. You got to save this little girl. Well, what's making that film interesting the entire way through is that Logan he's still the same that Kenobi is in terms of being depressed, but he also has another emotion that he's struggling with, and it's anger. And so he's trying to he's trying to take care of Professor X. And he's like, this is all I have left because this is the legacy that I need to take care of. Yeah,
because when we open up, we're looking at someone who everyone he knows is dead.
Yes, exactly.
Everyone's gone. Professor X is very similar. Last one.
Yeah, it's very similar to Kenobi in that regard. But the difference is that he's got a more complex set of emotions, and he's actively trying to prevent himself from getting back in the game. The whole time he's like, I'm not getting back in the game. I'm not getting back in the game. I don't care if other people die. I'll even kill other people if I don't have to get back in the game. But Kenobi's kind of like, okay, I'll just go along. Like, okay, I don't really want to do this, but I'll go along. And so it's like, there's not as much for us to like feel with the characters about, right?
Because even if he was like super actively against, you know, being a Jedi, or even when that young Jedi came to him and being like, hey man, I found you. And that was a really sad moment for meeting your heroes, because I'm sure, imagine you're a youngling that somehow hid or pretended to be dead and you made it out. And in your mind, you feel, if I'm able to find any of the masters, we can fix this. We can fix it. We're Jedi. We're paragons of virtue and truth and understanding, and we're peacekeepers and all of that stuff.
Right.
But you finally find a master. You find Obi-Wan. And you're like, yes, I found you. Obi-Wan, look, man, look at what's going on. We need to do something. And he's like, no. He's like, no, I don't know who you are. I'm not him. That kind of thing. So that's sad and heartbreaking. But maybe if when Bale came to him and said, hey, they took Leia, if that turned something on in him, then we'd be like, oh, okay. So it's like, you don't mess with my family kind of thing. Right. And like, maybe that kind of thing we'd have a different Obi-Wan that we'd be looking at. Yeah. Because I can understand, you know, like, hey, look, this is a losing battle. They got hundreds of thousands of soldiers, and I'm just one person by myself. But someone comes and says, hey, they took Leia. Yeah. And then he's like, they did what? And then that kind of thing kind of like turns him on and kind of energizes him. So
you could go one of two ways with it, right? You go one way where it's man on fire, which is what you just described, right? They took Leia. I got to get Leia back. That's my mission in life, right?
And I'm killing my way to the truth.
Yeah, exactly. The other way you go is you go the Logan way. So the guy shows up. That was a sad moment, but it was a depressingly sad moment. Now imagine if he'd been like, you need to get out of here. Like, you got to get out of here. Like, I'm not that guy. I don't want to talk to you anymore. But then there's a scenario wherein he actually has to kill that guy. He has to, or else Luke gets discovered. Now it's interesting. Yeah, exactly. Now it's interesting. Now it's intriguing. Like, what's he doing? Instead, it's just kind of like, oh, no, sorry, I'm not going to help you out. And then, boom, he's dead. It's like, that's not it. There's not as much activity. There's not as much action. There's not as much of like him being so scared that he's got to do something. I just think that would have made it more like, what is going to happen here? Like, where is he going to go? Like, how bad is he going to get?
I'm going to have to watch Logan again because I forgot. Okay, so, because I think he's like, no, I'm not taking you. And then her guardian gets killed and he's like, all right, fine. Like, because the lady gets killed in the hotel, I think. And then he's like, all right.
Yes.
Cool, fine, just come on. And it's like that kind of thing.
Yeah, and he didn't even care. He didn't even care that much. But what made it different was that Professor X was there to keep pestering him, like, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this, or whatever, right? And so like, it was just a little bit. It was more like him trying to ignore his calling, which was to save this little girl, who's the legacy of the X-Men, if you will. And him going, I'm not even worried about the legacy of the X-Men. I don't care about the legacy of the X-Men.
Sort of weirdly considered his either little sister or daughter.
Yeah, totally.
Like, depending on how you want to go with it.
Yep.
So exactly. It could easily come off like that, where it's like, hey, this is a very similar example, but a much better version.
Yeah,
I mean, it's sad because they meet that family that they hide out with for like one night and they get them killed.
Yes, exactly.
So that shows like there's, no matter where he goes, people just die. And it's, you can see the weight on him about it. You can see like, it's a much more compelling version.
Yeah, it's very much. It's way more compelling.
Because it's sad. And matter of fact, I've never watched the black and white version because I have the black and white version of that as well.
Yeah, I gotta watch that. I haven't seen that either.
Version.
Yeah, supposedly that one's even better.
Yeah, it's wow. That movie.
I am excited though because Mangold. Yeah, it is really sad. But James Mangold is now doing Indiana Jones 5.
Ooh.
So I'm interested in that because he's dealt with Logan before and he was pretty awesome with Logan. So maybe we can see. I don't know how Harrison Ford, an 80-year-old, is going to do any of these stunts. I have no idea, but I'm excited for it.
He's up there.
Yeah.
And see, they made the mistake by not passing the mantle. Yeah. So now, instead of being something like Bond, where every 10 years or something, we just pick someone new. They were so steadfast on being like, it's got to be Harrison. So now you're stuck trying to make an 80-year-old. This is going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting.
But yeah, Mango. We'll see how this comes out. We'll see how
Yeah, we'll see how it is. Yeah.
Back to
little detour.
Good old Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Final thoughts on how you feel about the show, maybe some finale stuff, and where can they find you?
All right. So I think that I'll be glad to see the finale because I'm just curious as to what happens, but honestly, I'm not excited about it. Right.
All right.
So I'll say I'm looking forward to it, but I don't have a lot of emotion tied to it. I'm trying to set up a big, it was your idea. I'm trying to take everybody who joined me along this whole series to come back next week and we'll all talk about it together and see where everybody's at. So I'm trying to arrange that. And I would say that I'm still like Taika Waititi came out, I think last week, and said that I don't want to play in the same playground. I'm paraphrasing. I'm going to do a totally different Star Wars movie. My movie is going to be in a different era, different thing. Like I don't want to revisit anything else. So I'm excited for things like that. That gets me way more excited than what we've seen here in Kenobi. It's not a bad show. I would never say it's a bad show. There are some great performances. And of course, anytime we get to see like a little bit of a prequel, even though I'm not the biggest fan of the prequels, I still will be excited when I get to see Obi-Wan and Hayden Christensen, Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen reprising some of those roles. But I'm good for now. I'm good for now. Skywalker Saga, I'm good for now. I don't need it anymore. Let's move on from it. And in the meantime, you can find me, hopefully, Michael will be joining me next week if we can figure out a time for everybody to break down episode 6. We'll talk about all of the Kenobi so far, see how it ends. Maybe it ends in some thrilling way that we would have not predicted. Who knows? But all of that stuff is going to be on the Story Geeks. So go check out the Story Geeks on YouTube or on your preferred podcast provider, and that's where you can essentially find me.
Cool. All right. My final thoughts are just, I guess, stick the landing. It doesn't have to be a 10 landing because, of course, this show, even to the penultimate episode, didn't really. I think that they thought this twist was going to be like, oh, and we were just like, oh, yeah, that's kind of cool. Then we're like, hey, there's a better show.
Right.
There's a better show about this than you gave us.
Exactly.
But, just solid ending, Leia go home and, be safe, of course, until, 8 years from now.
Yep.
Around?
Yeah. Around there.
I really hope they blow my mind on the next episode. I say that.
Yeah.
I hope they blow my mind because we need it. We need it on this one.
Yeah. Totally.
So I guess with that said, NERD, SOUL, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those places, TikTok, podcasts, all that jazz. Thank you guys for coming through. Thank you for hanging with us. Of course, live, replay, whatever, hit that like button, subscribe. It helps. And are you ready? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
To go?
Yeah.
You sure? All right, cool. So we got some Black comics, some dope beats for y'all. And until next time,
and
which
the party.
Rip Party.
Yeah.
No Rip Party this time. Just the Black comics.
Are you putting it into the Rip Party house?
Yes.
See our friends.
Yes. Tonight I will be playing Shreder's Revenge again. Don't know what time. Probably like 7 p.m. PST. But yes, we will be playing because the game is fun. So from us to you, till next time, we'll be.
Did you play Turtles when you was little?
Yes. I did play Ninja Turtles when I was little on a little system called the Nintendo Entertainment System. So we out. Peace. And until next time, you want to give a whoa. All right, you want to go? All right, then. All right, guys, take it easy, y'all.
That if you keep dwelling in the past, you will remain in the past. Can I get a fucking yeah?
Good day, gentlemen. This is a pre-recorded briefing made prior to your departure, in which for security reasons of the highest importance has been known on board during the mission. Now that you are in Jupiter's space and the entire crew is revived, it can be told you. 18 months ago, the first evidence of intelligent life off the Earth was discovered. It was buried 40 feet below the lunar surface, near the crater Titan. Except for a single, very powerful radio emission aimed at Jupiter, the 4-million-year-old black monolith has remained completely inert. Its origin and purpose still a total mystery.
You're listening to my daddy, All Gorilla